Hello everyone, this is part 8 of What If Naruto Had a Hug That Changed Everything, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. Perfect timing. Get that defiant little bee outside. The boss wants to have word with her, the other man called out. At hearing those dreadful words, Ashima's tears fell down with more ferocity as she immediately recalled what that meant. No, she whispered. The sand ninja stared at the captive woman in confusion. What is it? He asked. Ashima lowered her head and tangled her fingers in her hair as she feared the worst. No, not him. Not him, she lamented with terror. The sand ninja became even more confused. Who is she talking abo? Hey. What's taking you? You know how irritable the boss gets when you keep him waiting, right? The man at the entrance of the chamber warned. The sand ninja's face cringed behind his mask. Forgive me, he whispered, before knocking the unsuspecting Ashima's face into the wall with a punch so hard, the left side of her head crashed into the wall, rendering her totally unconscious. The Konoha Genin squad continued to watch and wait within different parts of the surrounding trees for something to happen. It seemed that they would get their wish sooner than expected. From a vault cover located on the ground, came a rouge sand ninja carrying an unconscious young woman on his shoulder. Seeing this, Sakura's face became riddled with startlement. What the hell? This wasn't part of the plan, she worriedly thought before pushing her finger upon a small communication device that she just recently hooked to her ear. Naruto. I know, Naruto's voice quickly responded, something's wrong. She shouldn't be there. Hearing this, Sakura simply decided to watch and see what unfolded, but couldn't help but shift worried glances to her unconscious blonde female friend, Ino. The large sum of ninja, 10 to be exact, all lined up in single file formation as though they were waiting for something. There was a space reserved in the center for the sand ninja who took it, while still holding the young prisoner over his shoulder. After a few seconds, footsteps could be heard, padding the ground in a slow, but ominously steady pace. The footsteps seemed to belong to a very large man, it was almost clear. After a few more seconds, a frightening pulse of chakra could be felt among every living soul in that area, followed shortly afterwards, by a huge luminous figure slowly marching from within the trees and the bushes. So, boys, what have you been able to obtain? The deep and gruffly toned voice hummed out. Naruto was startled when he heard a sudden gasp of total and absolute shock coming from Anko. He looked beside him to see what the problem was. Anko. The brunette Junin unintentionally began to tremble, a first, in Naruto's book. He watched his squad leader begin to shake harder and harder as she stared on at the new figure that presented himself. It can't be, she said with an uncharacteristic level of fear showing in her voice. What? Who is that? Did I completely miss something here? Naruto said in a growingly irritated fashion. Anko never ceased her trembling. That's. Well. Have you gotten anything else out of the girl, or not? The mysterious man said, eyeing the sand ninja who was holding her. A rogue mist shinobi on the far left side stepped up to speak. Sir. We have obtained nothing further. She's a tough one, that much is certain, but so far she tells us nothing more of her knowledge about the organization, he informed sternly, but with every ounce of fearful respect one could muster. The vision of dominance looked at the girl closely. I see. Put her down, he ordered the sand ninja, who willingly complied without hesitation. Upon contact with the ground, Ashima began to snap out of her unconsciousness. The large man waited for her to fully awaken as he watched her with intent. After only a few seconds, Ashima came to and rose to sit on her knees, slowly trying to grasp her surroundings. Before this could go on for long, however, the large man called out to her. Glad to see that you're finally awake, Ashima, he said with a rather sadistic smile. Hearing that voice, Ahima began to tremble and whimper as she remembered the terms of agreement that she was told if she didn't talk. At first, the very thought of looking up at the figure that was sure to be right over her was the most terrifying thing in the world. Hearing a well-polished katana unsheathing certainly didn't make her situation any brighter. Tears of horror and despair ran down her cheeks, as she continued to stare at the ground, not wanting to even think about what the monster standing overhead would do to her. So stubborn, like always, Ashima. You should know better than to defy me, the man said with a slight growl to his words. Not hearing a response, the shadowed stranger shifted the pointed end of his katana onto Ashima's midsection with barely enough force to keep her skin unpierced. The frightened young female whined and cried when she felt that pain, as even more disturbing thoughts riddled her mind. The man started to trail his sword upward on her body, slowly. Please, she pathetically begged. The man scoffed, don't be ridiculous. If you won't talk because of your defiance, then you are of no further use to me. That is how it must be, he said with unforgiving cruelty sping from his mouth. The large man's sword eventually reached Ashima's end and slowly sheared up to her cheek until it reached her left eye, where it stayed, terrifying the young brunette all the more. I beg you, please don't do this to me, she continued to beg, while the tears that she shed became more fierce. The dominant man kept his sword where it was, HMPH. Lucky for you, I'm a compassionate man. There's business that must be taken care of, before I finish you off. For starters, he began before shifting a somewhat mouse glare to the sand ninja behind Ashima. Shoving Ashima to the side with ruthless purpose, the burly man marched up to the frozen sand ninja and viciously clutched his large hand around his tea, crushing all chances he had of breathing, as he lifted the masked nin high off of the ground. Who are you? Sakura gasped. Ino, she thought before quietly speaking into her earpiece again. Naruto. We have to do something. Naruto struggled to silence a grunt that he had let out after seeing what he saw. He poised himself to lounge out of the trees and strike all of the bastards down, when a hand firmly clasped onto his shoulder. Don't, Anko firmly ordered, we have a plan B, remember. Naruto growled as a response, standing down as he did so. Anko spoke into a communication earpiece of her own. Sakura, she said. Hi, the pink-haired kunoichi briskly responded, before she started to perform an unruly number of hand signs. The suffocating sand nin was futilely attempting to loosen the man's monstrous grip to breathe, but was failing miserably. The more he struggled, the tighter his end was sped. With his katana still in hand, the large, dominant man frowned. Last chance, he warned evilly, who are you? You share the same body, but I know you're not one of mine. Who do you work for? Soon, the lack of oxygen was starting to take its toll on the unfortunate sand nin and his vision began to blurt. As he started to lose himself to unconsciousness, he suddenly heard a voice called out to him within a communication earpiece in his ear. Do it, Ino, the voice of Sakura said. Smiling, despite the situation, Ino slowly lifted her hands. The large man raised an eyebrow at seeing this, before he saw the sand nin connect his hands together in a most familiar way. Kai, the female voice of Ino shouted within the sand nin's head. Seeing the sand nin's arms go limp, the dominant man frowned again. What are you? Wait, mind transfer, he roared before spinning his body half-circle and launching 4 shuriken in a seemingly random direction. Within the trees, Ino regained consciousness, but immediately found her head being shoved down by Sakura's hand to escape the range of 4 well-aimed shuriken. Lifting her head up, Ino looked at her pink-haired friend beside her. Sakura, it's okay, Ino. I've already placed the genjutsu, Sakura assured. The 9 rogue nin that were still in single file, were now fully alerted, looking around the area frantically in search of any intruders. The 10th nin, the sand shinobi, was still unconscious within the grasp of the tall mysterious man. It would appear that we have some company. What? He shouted, when he looked down at the ground where he had thrown Ashima only to see absolutely nothing. With unprecedented fury building within him, the man's grip on the unconscious sand nin tightened to such a degree, that his end was snapped completely. The other rogue nin began to tremble after seeing this and dared not to do so much as move a muscle, as it might upset their leader. The shadowed man shot a terrifying glare to his subordinates. Don't, just stand there you idiots, he roared, seek and destroy. Shaking their visible fear off, the 9 remaining rogues shouted unified grunts of affirmation and disappeared within a flash of that good old ninja speed. The squad of Narusaku Shinokusanko dashed across the trees at a ridiculously quick pace. Even how it didn't go 100% smoothly, the plan worked almost perfectly. Anko took the responsibility of carrying the shivering Ashima as they continued the long haul back to Konoha. Mission accomplished, said a rather proud Sakura. Don't be so quick to judge, Anko retorted, we may have retrieved the girl, and your genjutsu may slow them down, but our mission is over when she's safe behind the walls of Konoha, got it? NGH. Hi. Sakura responded before squaring her eyes in exasperation, you don't have to such AC about it. Geez. As they continued their amazing race, Sakura looked to Ino and saw that she looked very downhearted, as though she were ashamed about something. Ino, what's the matter? Sakura asked her friend, who exchanged a look of slight disbelief from her end. Are you serious, Sakura? I totally fed up, Ino said to herself more than anyone else. Sakura smiled at this, thinking that it was no more than simple modesty. What are you talking about, Ino? You did exactly what you were supposed to do, she consoled. Ino scoffed in disappointment with herself, if by that, you mean the only thing I was good for was getting caught, then inclined to agree with you, she said insistently. Before Sakura could respond, a familiar voice of a certain blonde boy called out from ahead of them. Oh, come on, give yourself a break, Ino, Naruto said with a familiar spark of boyish charm that was thought to be long gone, being forced to bring this girl out into the open pretty much opened the door for Plan B. If you weren't so scared at the mind transfer we'd still be sitting there complaining about nothing to do. Plus, she would have most likely been ked. So don't shoot yourself in the face about it. Ino was, surprised to say the least. Naruto, actually gave her a compliment, a sincere one, at that. It was almost too good to be true. She truly believed that Naruto would rather chop off his own balls than give her any sort of recognition. Yet, here he was. Ino felt a warm blush sweep across her face at hearing Naruto's sentiments. Somehow, it was a lot more believable coming from him. Thank you Naruto, Ino said with a grateful, but nervous smile. As a response, the blonde genin looked back at Ino with a much more tame, gentle and understanding look on his face, a look that nearly made her and Sakura faint. The way that his shaggy and untamed hair flowed in front of his gentle eyes, magnifying their brilliance with the bright sunlight piercing through the trees, was truly amazing to both females. In time, Sakura also found a blush sweep across her face. Naruto-kun, Sakura unintentionally swooned, while staring at the blonde genin dreamingly. A look of confusion crossed Naruto's face. What is it Sakura? He asked, wondering what was wrong. Sakura snapped back into reality and mentally cursed herself for letting that slip out. She did the only logical thing she could think of at a time like this. Oh, and nothing, Sakura said half-heartedly, cursing herself even more, damn it. He's right here in front of me. Why am I still hesitating? Why can't I just tell him that I was wrong, and how sorry I am for everything I've ever put him through? As these thoughts raged through her head, Naruto shrugged off his confusion and turned to face forward, thoroughly blocking out what Sakura had just called him. Damn. Either I still have that adrenaline high going on, or Sakura just called me, nah. Must be the adrenaline high, he thought solidly to himself, Ino. The blonde female looked ahead of her and looked at Naruto. Yeah, she responded with a little concern. After we get Ashima-san to the village, I want to talk to you, alone, he said without hesitating. Ino's blush relished itself as she stared at the black-cladded genin incredulously. To me. He wants to talk, to me. Alone. Oh, God, she thought as she began to inwardly panic. As Ino wondered, feared, and, for some reason, fantasized about what Naruto wanted to speak with her about, Sakura was practically having her inward meltdown. Why did Naruto want to talk to Ino? What was he hiding? Have they been talking behind Sakura's back? Has Naruto fallen for the blonde female? Why was Sakura suddenly glaring at Ino? The young Yamanaka was far too involved with her overview of the possibilities, so she sure as hell didn't notice. Naruto shifted his focus to his Junin squad leader, Anko. Are you positive that this was a B rank mission? He asked. Hearing this, Anko hesitated at first. Yes, it was, at first, she answered. What do you mean? Who was that guy that we saw earlier? He persisted. Again, Anko hesitated. Should I tell them? NGH. The fact that he showed up changes everything. Everything, she thought fearfully to herself. Anko, Naruto called out to snap the Junin out of her daze. Who is he? No one you need to worry about right now. We have the girl and that's all we need to be concerned with right now, Anko said. Naruto was definitely still urged to press his questioning on, but decided against it, even though it was very surprising to see Anko, one of the best special Junin in Konoha, shaking in her sandals when she saw the guy. Pushing these thoughts aside, Naruto just continued to tread quickly along the trees. Whether the mission was slightly more dangerous than AB rank or not, it was still a mission, and it was still money in the pocket. Holla. After a few more minutes of their haul back to Konoha, Anko felt the body of Ashima start to tremble and shiver. Feeling this, the special Junin immediately halted her pace, gaining looks of surprise from the genin, who stopped in their tracks as well. What's wrong? Sakura asked with concern. As Anko continued to stare at Ashima's shivering body, she became more and more worried. Damn. She's getting really cold and the wounds that she received are starting to take its toll. If we don't get her to the resting spot that we set up before we got to the enemy camp and treat her wounds, she could possibly have a fever before we even get to the village, she fretted. Without even thinking at all, Naruto hopped over to the same branch as Anko, swiftly removed his red jacket, and wrapped it around the cold Ashima to keep her warm. Quite possibly the biggest mistake that he ever made in his miserable life. Taking off his jacket not only revealed his sleek and surprisingly well-toned arms and chest, due to his form-fitting muscle shirt, but also intensified the smell that his body gave off, due to the excitement of the mission in and of itself. Sakura, Ino and Anko's eyes widened at the unbelievably addicting stench that suddenly dipped into the air. Almost at the exact same time, they all took a huge whiff of it all and shot intense and somewhat intensive glares at Naruto, who was suddenly struck by the fast-developing notion that he was being watched from all sides. Taking his eyes off of the shivering female in Anko's arms, Naruto turned his attention to all of the females of his squad, who predictably shot their attention elsewhere in the nick of time. The blonde genin shrugged it off. Come on. Let's get her to the resting point, he said with his usual determination. Ignoring the quickly rising desires that were beginning to surface, they nodded and shot off in the same burst of speed. This time, however, Naruto noticed that all of the females were edged much closer to him than before. He exchanged confused looks at the females who all paid him no mind, but had these barely noticeable intense and wanting looks on their faces from what he could see. As he struggled trying to figure out what the deal was, Naruto suddenly heard a very familiar voice echo inside his head. Ooh-ho-ho, hubba, hubba. Once again, Naruto slowly zoned out. Kyuubi, what the hell is going on? Bah-ha-ha-ha-ha. You really don't know, Kit. Are you really that stupid about the female species? Well, apparently yes. Why do they have to be all ninja, this sort of thing? It looks like they're about to K me. K-you. Oh, no, Kit. They won't K you, they'll just probably tear you limb from limb to get a piece of you. What? Ha. Let me give you a brief explanation. If you haven't noticed, you've been giving off a smell that, to say the least, really stinks. I noticed that too, but that doesn't explain why they all keep sniffing and edging closer to me. They're freaking me out. Kit. Don't you know anything? Your unusual increase of testosterone has allowed you to give off more of a scent that interacts with the female S drive. Your chances of finding a suitable mate will be quite interesting indeed. MWAHAHAHAHA. What part of my predicament in any possible aspect? AMMUSESU. Ha ha. The fact that this is yet another side effect of the pact. I've noticed that you have taken a more dominant turn to things, and to my knowledge, it's really making the females hot. Kit, you are so screwed. Ah ha 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 ha. Like hell I am. There has to be a way out of this mess and you're gonna tell me. Kyuubi, this isn't funny. Answer me. Back in the plane of reality. Answer me, ya stupid fox, Naruto shouted out nowhere, garnering the immediate attention of the rest of his squad. Instantly slapping his hand over his mouth, Naruto nervously shot his eyes from left to right. What a freak. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.